Great. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sierra. We're really excited to have everyone join us today as we talk about something that is super important for all of our community leads and for people who are embedded in this work, which is the concept of community messaging to build awareness. If you could go to the next slide, please, that would be awesome. Perfect. Thank you. So we do acknowledge that communications and messaging is important to communities who are mobilizing around GLR work, and it's important to the program providers who are dedicated to implementing programs for children and families. So this conversation today is about the strategies our CGLR communities have used to share about those programs embedded in their communities and building a consistent voice to draw more people into the work of their coalitions. Last week, our GLR Learning Tuesday session was about building a narrative that advocates for children, and it touched upon the systems change work around messaging. Well, today's session's a little bit different, although related, as we go into things that are happening and working on the local level for our community leaders. So within the agenda, you can see our goals today is that we plan to share some exemplary examples of communications from two community leads, which will be sharing slides, but then I've also asked two other community leads to share later in the large group discussion. So the slides that have been prepared today are from Sam Emerine, who will share about branding to build more awareness around coalition partners, the resources that are available, and Barbara Lito from Virginia Beach, who will share about the overall messaging to support mobilization. Towards the end of the session today, we've got around 30 minutes or so flagged for a large group discussion using that Padlet, which I'm hopeful that everybody will participate in today. As a reminder, the Crucible Practice Series did shift into a meeting format, so we'll be able to engage with each other in conversation with everyone attend so that we may learn from each other. And I'm really hopeful that in our large group discussion, you'll feel free to add things onto the Padlet so that we can capture your insights, or unmute and we will transcribe that directly into the Padlet, which would be shared in the follow-up resources for everybody. We highly encourage your participation with that section. Okay, so if we could go to the next slide, please, and you can see the photos of our speakers, conversation leaders today, and go one more slide in. And we're going to start with launching a poll, and then we'll do the icebreaker. So if I could have, I think it's Leah who's helping me today. If you could launch the poll, which describes your role. Thank you. Okay, so if everybody could take a look at this poll and respond, that would be helpful so that we know who is in the room today. Oops, that's the wrong poll. Could you go back one, please? Go back. Okay, while we're working on that, we're going to go into the icebreaker. Oops, that's the wrong poll. Keep going. One more back. Apologies.
Okay, I'm having trouble seeing other polls. It just keeps showing me.
That's all right. We'll go ahead. We'll move forward. There we go. That's it. That's the one. Okay, if everybody could please respond to this, that would be really helpful for us. Sorry about the technical issues there. We're just trying to understand who's in the room with us so that we can have a good idea when we start to launch into the discussion questions, who we're really directing those to. So if you could just please choose which best describes your role. That would be helpful for us to see who has joined us. And so it looks like we've got a number of education consultants. We've got a nice mix. We have some community leads that are also coming in. So that's awesome. Coalition members, others not mentioned. We'll leave the poll up for just another second. Okay. All right. So let's take that down. That at least it helps me, but I know it helps our conversation leads in knowing who's here with us today. So thank you for that. All right, so our icebreaker question, which will get our minds primed for the discussion, is that I have 3 photos up on the slide, and I would love for you to just look at the photos and respond to the question based on the pictures. So what is it that captures your attention first and then propels you towards learning more when you're first looking at a message about a topic? Is it an eye-catching photo? If it is, choose choice 1. Is it the colors that capture your attention first? If that's what it is, then choose choice 2. Or is it the subject matter about the message itself that really captures your attention first? If it's that, then please choose choice 3 and put that response in the chat box. So we'll wait for folks to respond. And this will get you primed and ready for a discussion. Looks like we've got a lot of 2s that are coming in, some 3s. Great, thank you. All right, so while folks are responding, if we could please go to the next slide, and then I'm going to pitch it over to my colleague Sam, who's going to share some examples and share with everybody a little bit more about Raise Me to Read. All right, Sam, it's all yours.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Emerine. I'm the Director of Literacy Initiatives with Family Inc., which is a Southwest Iowa. We're based in Council Bluffs, whole family service organization. And Raise Me to Read is our literacy part of our campaign, nonprofit. What do you want to call it? Anyway, I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about how we use branding and marketing as part of our awareness campaign for literacy. So if you want to go to the next slide for me. A little bit of an overview. So like I said, we are the literacy leg of Family Inc., whose mission is to engage and educate our community, inspiring a healthy future through literacy, family, and public health services. Southwest Iowa Raise Me to Read aims to improve third grade reading proficiencies through strategic partnerships and awareness campaigns. So if you want to go to the next slide for me. So what do we do? Those of you who are already involved in the campaign for grade level reading are familiar with a lot of these pieces. So we still fall under kind of the 3 big buckets. So out of school learning, school readiness, and attendance. And then this last bucket is kind of our newest bucket. That's the collective impact piece. I'm mostly going to talk about the first 3 buckets because those are our big awareness pieces, right? So for out of school learning, we want to create and promote literacy rich out of school activities. So this includes promotion of summer reading in partnership with the public library. This includes Born to Read, which is a program we do in partnership with the school district for summer school and getting books out to kids through summer school. And then Play Onwards, which is our Play Happens Everywhere, Literacy Happens Everywhere campaign that we're starting. School readiness, we want to ensure that every child enters kindergarten ready to learn. So we have some kindergarten readiness skills work that we do. Reach Out and Read, which is a phenomenal program that we help raise awareness for. We have a mobile wellness unit through Family Inc. that provides public health services free of charge to children up to age 21 and pregnant individuals. And then Baby Reads, which is another library partnership program, which raises awareness around getting your child signed up for a library card kind of as soon as possible and taking advantage of all of those great library resources. Lastly is our attendance work. We work to distribute community education on the importance of attendance. So we have a community-based attendance coalition that works in kind of the larger Omaha metro area. And then we do some attendance support with United Way and other things. That last piece, the collective impact piece, is our community partnership piece of our little vision. So that's achieving population level change through education, alignment, and collective action. You want to go ahead to the next slide? So kindergarten readiness brochures, this was one of our first really big awareness pieces. And so we created this in 2021 based on work that had already been done in the Quad Cities by their United Way GLR campaign. And what this is it's a set of 9 kindergarten readiness skills that local educators in our community feel are the most important for kids to have when entering kindergarten. So this is a range of skills. Some of it's social emotional, some of it's dexterity, some of it is self-realization, kind of those things. But it was like 9 things that parents can work on at home before their kid enters kindergarten. And kind of the biggest thing that we found important to this is not only does the information have to be really good, which it is, right? We had input from over 40 local kindergarten and preschool teachers. We had a dedicated task force that worked on creating this that had representatives from Early Head Start, from both of our local school districts, other community partners such as Green Hills AEA and West Central Action. So the information is really good, but one thing that I think we overlook often is that it also has to look really good, right? Because if the information is not presented friendly, or it's not presented in a way that's approachable for families, it's often going to be something that they are handed at a fair. They actually get these twice a year. They get them at Kindergarten Roundup, and then they also go out with students the first week of preschool, so families see them twice. But it's often in a folder with a whole bunch of other things, and so it might get overlooked. And even though the information is really great, if they don't see the information, then it's not doing anyone any good. So we really wanted to make sure that not only were these skills written in a way that was very approachable for families, but also that it was very eye-catching. So if you go to the next slide, this is kind of the inside look of the brochure. So it's a large brochure, 10 by 10, and I meant to grab one and I didn't. But it's an odd shape, so that gets some attention. So that was very intentional. It's also very brightly colored. It's that bright blue that you saw on the previous slide is the cover. And then this inside is these blocks, so that everything is really nicely presented. So you can see there's questions like, can your child work and play well with others? Well, what does that mean? Well, here's some clarifying questions. Do they do this? Do they build blocks with others? Do they take turns playing catch? No, I think my child's struggling with this a little bit. So here's some ways that you can work on this. So how can I teach this? You can encourage your child to use language like, can I play with you? Can I play too? Things of that nature. Next slide. Our second big awareness campaign is Baby Reads, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. So this is a partnership program between us and the Council Bluffs Public Library. It works to remove access barriers for low-income families. So when a family signs their child up for a library card, they get a free book. They also get a one-time waiver of all fines and fees on the parent or guardian's library card. And so what that does is it removes an access barrier for many of our low-income families. So, you know, we've all seen it. You have a family come in, they want to use the library, but mom or dad checked out a bunch of DVDs, and those DVDs were stolen from their car because they were living in their car at the time, or, you know, they were, you know, house jumping or surfing and they lost some things, and so now they owe the library an amount of money that they are not able to pay. And so this gives the whole family a clean slate. It lets them start over and hopefully get them back in with the library. It also incentivizes signing up the child before that child is 1 year of age through the free book and this kind of fee waiver. This was another thing that we wanted to make sure looked really great and that we brought a lot of attention to. It's also, I'm excited to announce, we just got this program also up and running with the Carter Lake Public Library. So we're up and running it too. That's exciting. You're the first to hear. But if you go to the next slide, we ran an awareness campaign and we wanted to make sure that it really, really popped. So this awareness campaign went out to a bunch of different people. And so it was on billboards. We had it up on 3 billboards around town. It ran on a local news station spot, also had a radio ad that aired with it. There was a targeted email blast that went out by omaha.com, which is the newspaper's website, to 10,000 targeted people. And so that was people of between the ages of 18 and 45 who had an interest in childcare, child rearing, kind of those targeted things. And then also we tried to really target those who were 200% of the poverty level or lower. And so we also wanted to make it really eye-catching, very friendly. That learning begins at birth. That's a great tagline that we use a lot. And so this was the email blast, the billboard. I think I got it all. We had over 1 million views on this campaign alone. It translated to, I think it was 0.07% click-through rate, which is actually pretty average. Is on par for what normally you get through kind of these targeted email blasts. So we were very happy with the results of this campaign. You can go to the next slide. A little bit more in the baby reads. So we used to do a baby reads kit. Again, we want it to be inviting. So it's got this big label on the front. It's got these brochures that has some early literacy tips on it. It's got information about the program, how you can sign up. The brochure actually on the inside has the library card application already on it. So they can fill out the application right on the brochure. So when they get to the library, they're already good to go. They just have to present their ID. It comes with some benchmark cards as an additional incentive, and the free board book. So even if a family doesn't take this program all the way, they still at least get one extra book in the home. This was our old kits. We have actually kind of moved away from this model of the baby reads kits because they're bulky, right? Like they're very large. They come in these 8x11 envelopes. They've got the book and the cards in them, so they're thick. And it makes it hard for some of our community partners to hand out and distribute because you have to store them. And so our next slide, this is new this year and we're very excited about them. We partnered with Third Week Books, which makes two different, they do a softback and a board book, and I think they have two different books in their selection. But they're books that also double as informational packets. So you can see here, this is the front and the back of the book. So it's Rockabye Baby Reader. It's got all the information on it about the program. So on the back, it's why you should sign up for Baby Reads, what is Baby Reads, where you can go to sign up on it. It's got our logo, the library logo, a QR code for them to find out more information. And all of this was customizable for what we need. And so they get all the information, but then inside it's an actual book. So it's got a bunch of nursery rhymes inside that also have early literacy tips in there. So it's a twofold thing, right? It looks great. It's really eye-catching, but it's also useful. So the families are less likely to, maybe get rid of it immediately. And they're more likely to see it multiple times because when they pick it up to hopefully read to baby, they're also seeing all of this really important information on baby reads. I think nope, one more slide. Just wanted to put my contact. This isn't the end of this, but it's the end of my introduction of kind of what we're doing. And so always want to put my information out there. You can follow us on social media, at Southwest Iowa Raised Me to Read on Facebook and at Southwest Iowa Raised Me to Read on what is now X, formerly Twitter. It is the number 2 in there because I definitely ran out of characters when making that username because Twitter has character limits. And then raisedmetoread.org. We have a wonderful website that our United Way, local United Way partner helped us establish. And there's actually 2 sides to that website. So there's the Metro Omaha side, and then there's Southwest Iowa, which is our side of the campaign. So if you ever want to keep up with what we're doing, that's where you can find us.
Thanks, Sam. There are a couple of questions. There's one question that I have and one that I want to lift up from Lisa Greening. Lisa, who will share a little bit later. She's with Turn the Page STL. Lisa had a question about, did you hire a marketing firm to create your marketing plan?
No, we actually created our marketing plan internally.
That's amazing. Oh, so yeah, go ahead, Sam, sorry.
We are very fortunate. I have a marketing background. I have a communication degree. So, you know, we're in a fortunate spot that not a lot of campaigns are. The original branding, the original Raise Me to Read branding was created by a marketing firm when the campaign was originally started, but the baby reads and kindergarten readiness were all done in-house. Though Firespring, if you guys aren't working with your local Firespring, they did do the layout for the kindergarten readiness brochures.
That's awesome. Thank you. Leah, could you go back 2 slides and bring up the slide that says Baby Reads Kit? Yeah, just stop there for a second. A question that I have for you, Sam, is can you share just a little bit more about the cost of what it took to put these things together in the kit? Because there are some materials here. And so this question is really coming from like me thinking about if I were a community lead and I wanted to implement this, how would I go about it? So can you walk us through a little bit about the funding components and how did you do this?
Yeah, so our kits were expensive for one reason and one reason only, and it's these Raising Reader benchmark cards. I used to keep a set in my desk and I don't know that I do it. Oh, I do. Sometimes I'm prepared. Okay, so these cards right here, these are our Raising Reader benchmark cards. And this is a set of about 30 cards. That on the front, there's a nursery rhyme, and then on the back, there's developmental milestones. So it gives you an age range. So this is 0 to 3 months, and then it gives you some things that you should be looking for with your child at that age, so developmentally. And these are expensive to make because they are laminated. They're kind of a weird card size. They punch them for us, kind of those types of things. But if you take that out of the equation, the kits are pretty financially affordable. So the envelopes, those are just regular manila envelopes. So, you know, 5 cents or so an envelope if you buy them in bulk. Same thing with the labels. We just made the labels with our branding, print them off, and then we have staff sticker each of the individual envelopes. The brochures, we do have them printed professionally with Firespring, like I said before, just because they're like 3 cents a brochure, and it's more staff time to have somebody sit there and fold all the brochures than it is to actually just pay to have someone do it. And then the board books, if you partner with Scholastic, if you are not a literacy partner through Scholastic yet, highly suggest that. You can also get great book deals through First Book, Books by the Bushel, kind of all of those kinds of places. So we get our board books for about $2 a book on average. So we're looking at $3 about, you know, if you want to round up per kit.
Great, thanks, Sam. There's another question. Kim, can you unmute? And I think you can unmute and ask which book you're referring to.
Oh, hey, okay. The second slide, the new book with the nursery rhymes in it that you said was with the third week books. Do you have a copy of that like at your desk you can hold up and show us?
I don't think I have one in my desk right at
Okay, that's okay.
I can't I'll grab one during the next presenter, and then I can show you guys when we start our.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd love to see.
Thanks, Sam. And Lisa's got another question. How much did you spend on your marketing campaign and for how long? Which includes the ads, billboards, etc.
Yeah. So the marketing campaign, we did have a grant specifically for that. So it was about $20,000, and it was a 3-month long campaign. And we worked through a local media broker and buyer to arrange all of that. So we didn't have to kind of contact everyone ourselves or book the billboards individually or that kind of stuff. It was all in a package.
Wow, awesome. Okay, thank you. If others have additional questions for Sam, keep them coming in the chat. I'll be sure to lift them. We'll have a few minutes after Barb presents where we'll chat with both Sam and Barb before we go into large group. But at this point, I would like to go on to the next slide if you can. And we will hear from Barb Lito from Virginia Beach. Take it away, Barb.
Great, thank you. Sam, that was awesome. I love being part of our learning communities and I learned so much. And I'm excited to be here and just share a little bit about our story in Virginia Beach. So my name's Barb Lito. I'm the Virginia Beach coordinator. And if you go to the next slide, I can tell you a little bit about what our work has been focused on. So Grow Smart is our city's early childhood education collaboration. We created this work about 2 decades ago when we had 25% of children starting kindergarten not meeting benchmarks. And so we really wanted to pull together collaborative members in our community who work with families, kind of that 0 to 5 space, and really work on some shared alignment and goals. Members of our team include Healthy Families, our school system, our human services, Head Start, our libraries are key partners, early intervention services, our United Way, WIC, and our childcare partners. And so we worked over the decades to really support kindergarten readiness. And in 2012, we joined the campaign for grade level reading. Now, we've had success through the years of moving our benchmarks from 75% of children meeting kindergarten readiness benchmarks to 88%. And we were, before the pandemic, we were kind of holding strong at that 88% with some slight decreases. One thing that we changed throughout this, or we evolved to, is that Grow Smart was relocated in our economic development department, really as an innovative workforce development strategy. So that move elevated the importance of early education and really lifted up the early care and education industry as an important infrastructure for early learning to happen. We know that that industry contributes to our local economic vitality, but it really supports our entire workforce. So parents who are trying to join the workforce, that access to quality childcare is really important. The other evolution is really understanding the role that quality childcare can play in our community, this dual generation support for working families, but this amazing opportunity to support our future workforce by supporting their early healthy development and early learning. And so we really wanted to refocus our narrative to lift up the value of early learning and understand that this is by investing early in a strong childcare system and quality early education, we're creating a stronger future workforce. Now, if you go to the next slide, it shows a little bit more about what this continuum of learning can look like. And I'm in economic development with a lot of business focus and one thing that I can tell you, naturally, people understand this high school graduation, benchmark, so workforce readiness to life outcomes. I think they kind of generally understand the connection with third grade reading and school readiness, but where our messaging was a little gray is people were having a hard time understanding what school readiness really meant, right? That 0 to 5 space could sometimes be gray for people. And we really wanted to lift up the importance that children are learning at birth, and they're learning in every environment across our community. So at home, at early care and education programs in their neighborhoods, and in our communities, at libraries and parks and recreation, and really embedding that learning across a child's early experience. So we really wanted to drill down and focus in on the importance of early language and how those early experiences support kindergarten readiness. Once the pandemic hit, kind of had this little gut check where in this first 6 months of many services for families and children kind of stopping or pausing or going virtual, we saw this drastic decline in our readiness. And it really kind of intensified our intention to lift up early language and early learning experiences at 0 to 5 space. It's just this critical can't miss moment right now when there have been disruptions in services for families. So we created, if you go to the next slide, we'll dive a little bit deeper. We've been part of the campaign for grade level reading, but what we wanted to do was really dive into these first 4 blocks of ensuring that early school success was happening for all children in our community. We know that children need to be born healthy and that they're meeting healthy developmental milestones. And we really wanted to equip our parents and our early educators kind of in their role as supporting that early learning and healthy development of children. By doing that, we thought we could ensure that more children were starting school ready. So if you go to the next slide, our Virginia Beach Reads is our local campaign for grade level reading, but what we wanted to do is branch off, and we created a sub-brand to that, which was called Virginia Beach Talks. And this really, the intention of Virginia Beach Talks is to lift up the importance of early learning happening across a child's life experience from 0 to 5, and really connect and equip our adult caregivers, our parents, and our early educators for success. And so we wanted to kind of frame this as parents, you matter. Let's connect. You play a critical role in your child's life, and you support their growth and development, and we're here to support you. We used pictures of our actual families who willingly shared and graduated from classes, and we really made sure that we promoted children as learners at the youngest of ages, right? Because we know that it's not once they start kindergarten that learning is happening from the moment they're born. What we've been doing is really trying to share parent stories and support these caregivers. So the parent groups in Lena Start are really just like this. It's a learning community where parents are invited. They are exposed to basic attachment theory and brain science and language development, and simple techniques they can do in their day-to-day lives. They are introduced to information, and then they discuss and share. It's very engaged sessions, and these sessions are for 10 weeks. And families loved it. They continue to love it. They're willing to be ambassadors and share their message and testimonial. And they are really actively recruiting other families in the community. So when if they're at the playground or out at the libraries or story times, they are sharing information about their experience and how it benefited them. Now, we also wanted to, at the height of the pandemic, children were at home with families and or in early care and education environments. And in our community, the landscape is we have about 25% of our 4-year-olds are in a public pre-K or Head Start program. But the other 75% are either at home or in an early care or childcare program. And so we really wanted to help strengthen and connect with those adults in supporting the healthy development of children. So Lena Grow is very similar to Lena Start, but it's really focused on supporting that early educator and ensuring they have responsive routines in their classroom and language-rich environments where children are able to play, explore, learn, be curious, be exposed to language, and then also utilizing language. So our VB Talks initiative really helped focus in on everything that's happening in that 0 to 5 space. We've been building these messages out and continue to build them. This work is still evolving the last 3 or 4 years, but we really had this critical kind of intention behind it especially with the pandemic, because we know that children who were born during this time are experiencing an entirely different early childhood experience than generations previous. So one of the other things on the next slide, we really wanted to get the word out deeper across our community, this critical importance, and use our work as an invitation to join us. So if you are a parent, there's ways to get involved. If you are an early educator, there's ways to get involved. If you're a community member, we can invite you in to volunteer and read with our first grade reads program and or as part of our Read Across America Day. And then our Read Across America Day event, especially last year, we really wanted to highlight the power of words and places where children are exposed to words and learning every day across our community. We invite our business leaders, our organizations, our city leaders to really come together to celebrate a love of reading. But we really wanted to hone in on the importance of where kids are learning and what that there's a role for everyone across our community to play and help support that learning. So this is just a short example. We do a video read with our Read Across America Day. So we give out 6,500 books, and every year we up our game on that. And we do a virtual read as well. So if you're not in a program or at a location that is having the event, you can still participate virtually. And then we send these books home that they're going back into the households and with families so they can continue to spark the love of learning. And it's really fun to kind of see the reactions and interactions that families will have even after the event. And that's a little bit, if you go to the next slide, it just has my contact information. And I look forward to kind of hearing more about the work that you guys do. I see a question in the chat about will Read Across America Day take place this coming year. We've been doing it since 2014. And yes, we will be doing it on 2024. We just did a preview of our book, and this year we're going to be doing Change Sings, which is really, it talks about the power of children being able to change their communities and their neighborhoods. And we got this book for like $1 through First Bank, the book bank last year. So we've been storing 7,500 copies of the book secretly located in our offices to really lift up the power of children.
That's awesome, Barb. I have a couple of questions specifically for you too. Thank you for sharing all of that great information. A question that sparked for me as you were talking about this event that you've got coming up, Read Across America. I'm just thinking about the number of volunteers that you have to recruit and coordinate. And so I'm curious about how you take your communication strategies to do that recruitment. If you can talk a little bit about the heavy volunteer recruitment process that goes into coordinating an event such as this.
Sure. So what we're doing now, I'll just walk you guys through, and it's really not as hard as it seems, but we've been doing it since 2014. And it's one of the best volunteer opportunities because it's a one-day commitment, 1 hour, you get to read to kids. Program registration is happening now. So we send it out to all of our classrooms in pre-K, Head Start, early childcare programs. And so we get them to register first, and they'll kind of give us an idea of the number of classrooms they have and if they'd like volunteers in their classrooms. From there, we build it into this, it's a registration database. So it's a system, and I'm drawing a blank. It's like a race registration sign up, and I'll get it for you guys, where it will just show the active opportunities to volunteer, and we promote that and send the public people who want to volunteer to that site, and they can literally pick a location that's close to where they work, live, or play, and a school they might have a connection with, and sign up to volunteer. So it takes the load off of us as much. We'll continually promote it, and then when spaces are full, then they just pick another location. And if we're not filling spaces, then we may actually actively recruit for a specific site. But we have about 85 to 100 classrooms that participate a year and about
Wow.
that number of volunteers.
That's amazing. Okay, another question. What process do you use to verify the volunteers and screen them? That's actually a good question. That came to my mind too, as we did a similar event in Iowa and there were quite a number of processes that you can use. So can you talk a little bit about that to make sure that the volunteers are on the up and up?
Sure, sure. So we do a first grade reads volunteer program that's with a collaborative with our schools that runs from October through May. And all of those volunteers will go through a background check and a screening, and because they are continually working in schools and working with children. And so for those long-term volunteers, they are doing background checks, they're getting specific training on sound partners or the tutoring program, and they're getting trained on the school's processes. For one-day volunteers, many of the childcare centers and schools will invite a parent in to be a guest reader. And so for that, the process is not quite as stringent, but we utilize typically volunteers that we know and organizations that we currently work with who really spread the word across their organization. They're never left alone with children. They're reading in a classroom setting in the watchful eye of licensed early educators and teachers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something too that I was wondering is, have you had volunteers do this event and then they come back? They want to do other things as well?
Yeah, usually Read Across America Day is our hook event where we're really trying to engage people deeper into the work we do. They tend to love it so much that many community members will come back and want to be a regular volunteer with the first grade reads program. Or they sign up year after year. Like they will brag and they will tell you that this is my 7th year, doing Read Across America Day. But they do dive deeper into our work. We are a military community, so we have a lot of military, and I can tell you that they love sending some of their members out to be readers and guest readers. Our fire department will come out, and children just love learning and being exposed to. And it's great. We're building champions through this because people might not get what kindergarten readiness is or the importance of reading to children, but you get in front of where you're reading to children, you see their excitement and their love and the engagement, and you're creating a true fan at that point when they walk out.
That's great. I have one more question about this event, and then I want to jump to Marissa's question. The question I have is about social media coverage for the event. Since we'll talk a little bit more about your strategy that you shared in the Communications Expo, and social media was one of those things that was recognized within your community as being quite exemplary. Can you talk a little bit about the social media leverage of that for this particular event and how you pull folks in?
Sure. Really, when the pandemic hit, we had been using our trusted partners and spreading the word through our in-person connections. And when those ended, we really had to beef up our social media game. And a little bit different than Sam is we have a development specialist who has 3 prongs to her position. One is seeking funding, grants, and sponsorship. One is marketing, and one is kind of the lead on these events. Read Across America Day, and we do a really big children's festival in April. So we really started being very strategic on messaging and keeping it in front of people. We build out a calendar of events and what's happening this month, what's coming up, and what we really want to highlight. And then we try to build those posts and kind of that sequence. What we've learned with social media, and I think Sam will probably share this a little bit more, you got to keep your eyes on it. You've got to really have an intentional focus, and you've got to post several different times to really get people to buy in. They may see it once and think, oh, that sounds really neat, but they see it again and they see it again, and that's when they start to engage. So that person, our full-time person, it's about 1/3 of what they do to really be active and monitor and engage. Now, the other thing is we really love to illuminate our partnerships. And so one thing, when the pandemic hit, we were all kind of honed in on trying to figure out our new way of working, right? And we really were short-staffed and solving pivoting to different ways of offering programs, and we came a little siloed, and we wanted to come out of that and make sure that we were cross-sharing across our partnerships, the amazing work that was happening across our community. So if our libraries was doing, 1,000 books before kindergarten, we want to share that across, and vice versa. So schools were sharing their messages. They wanted to support children's learning. Libraries is sharing, our city was sharing it. How can we connect our community to services or programs that will benefit them, and helping people find what really fits or works with their family and their circumstances.
I appreciate that you said that. That was a question that I created for the large group discussion, but you really hit on it, and we'll ask the large group that's joined us in a little bit later. Just I want to make note though that I'm acknowledging that remark about cross-sharing and cross-promotion, and having all of your partners kind of come together and sharing out the different things that you've got going on. And I want to call attention to the question that Marissa has about the book, where you purchase Change Sings.
Sure. So we keep our eyes on, we're a part of First Book Marketplace, where you can get, like Stan said, you can get really high quality board books for children for $2 to $3. But they also have another leg of that, which is called the First Book Bank. And these are books that have probably been donated by a publisher or a donor. And basically the books are for you're paying for the shipping. And they usually will sell them by case. And that's where we found Change Sings. And it was, I think it was last February. We were still planning our 2023 event when we saw this hard copy book, available by the case, that just had this beautiful message and this colorful artwork. And so we were kind of, wait, hold up, that's a deal we can't miss, because when they hit, you have to kind of search it regularly. And we were able to get like 6,500 copies of Change Sings. And it's a lot of boxes. We typically don't print quite that early. But the other thing we loved is that they had the book in Spanish as well. So we do try to be culturally aware that there's different, so it was the book bank.
Yeah, thanks, Leah, for posting that link. First Book is a great partner, national partner for the campaign. So really good to hear that they were helpful for you in getting that resource. I do have a question for both you and Sam. Sam, if you could come back on camera. Something that I noticed about the resources that both of you were targeting is that you were sharing lots of things about family engagement and resources specifically for families. So if both of you could answer this question, how have you disseminated the resources out? So for Sam, your kits, very specifically your kits and your campaign, and then Barb, for you, the information about Lena. How did you work through the dissemination process and how you were getting that stuff out for families?
Sure.
So Sam, if you could go first.
Yeah, for the two different campaigns, they are targeted in two different ways, and that's very intentional. So for Baby Reads, we went through social service organizations. So we have given presentations to WIC, to Green Hills AEA. The library obviously always keeps them on hand. Early Head Start, a few of our Early Head Start coalitions have them. And so anybody who's working specifically with that under one population, so that really narrows us down. And then also is working with kind of that low income population that we're looking at. We're looking, and part of the reason, and I did grab a copy, so I'll show it now while we're talking about it. So this is the Rockabye Baby book. And then inside you can see like, this is patty cake, and I know it's backwards, but, and then there's just some like tips here, like, at first your baby will only listen for a short time, your book break will become a favorite part of your busy day. Soon your baby will help you turn the pages. It's okay if your baby eats the book, because we've all been there. We're also, what we're looking now with Baby Reads is to expand it into clinics, and to hopefully make this kind of the first part of Reach Out and Read. So we have Reach Out and Read running up at 3 of our 4 clinics. And so we're hoping at that 6-month well child visit that the book that the pediatrician will take in will be this one. So that's kind of why we went to this, because this is a lot easier for them to keep on hand than kind of the bigger packet is. And then for kindergarten readiness, because I also went and grabbed this one because I was grabbing the other one too. So this is the trifold brochure. They're actually the same size. I've never held them together. They're the same size. So they're both like an 8x8 soft cover book. And these are just given out directly through the schools. So we just partnered with the school district, and they give them out. Like I said, the first week of preschool, they go home, and then at their individual kindergarten roundups, the school districts do it kind of 2 different ways, but they also go out then also.
Great, thank you. Dissemination is such an important part of getting the word out, and so that's why I asked that question for you. And then Barb, same question. How do you disseminate the information about your LENA programs?
Sure. So we've done several different ways. So we definitely will share it through our community partnerships. So we are regulars at the WIC clinic, and we'll present and talk with families. We send families that have graduated, just sharing about the program and what they loved and how it helped them. We send it to our childcare partners to share with families, because they really have great relationships with their families through our pre-K. We'll do presentations at the literacy night, libraries, but we also hit the ground in a community, any community event where we're able to go to. We're there. We'll hand out the talking tips for free. You know, it just advertises a class, but why not share the love with everybody, every simple things they can do. And we also provide books at community events. So every child will get a book that they can take. We have a kindergarten readiness calendar that's pathways to kindergarten that are seasonal, that has these, you know, different activities and ideas they can do with book reading and conversations and learning. And then it's very similar to what Sam does. We have a kindergarten readiness folder that will really be strategic in giving to 3s and 4s who are getting ready to join the kindergarten. So we have kind of that dual message, 0 to 3, 3 and 4. Now during COVID, when some of our partners were not open, it really had us kind of trying to figure out some new ways. And some of the things we did is our community really was helping parents or families in the community through the difficult time. And so there were community-wide food distributions with the food bank. And my staff and I were out there, and we had packets and that had the flyers in there, the talking tips in our book. And we had as many, we even went outside of our age group. Well, how can we get books in the hands of kids and just helps connect with parents? One of my staff was reminding me today it was like 32 degrees in Virginia, which is really cold. In a couple of years, that's what we were doing on a day in December, was standing out there freezing and handing out cases of food and books. But we distribute books freely at back to school events, at community resource fairs. Now in our class with LENA Start, we intentionally select a weekly book that connects to learning objectives with readiness. And so we have a list of books that are intentionally given to families each week. So when they get done with that class, they have 10 books for their home library. And then before graduating, we bring libraries in our early intervention services, where if they don't have a library card, they can go ahead and get a library card. So they're continuing to connect beyond the class. And if any family in that group may have been concerned about, they do a language development snapshot, but if there was a concern about if their child was showing any signs of delay, we bring our early intervention who just shares about services that are available for families 0 to 3. So we've tapped into a lot of different ways. Things are back open and community events are happening, and that's where we really love to shine. We made a partnership because when the world closed down, it really did affect kind of how we were getting the word into the hands of families. And so we really worked, and we met them at the food bank distribution, but it was one of our local news stations. And they have periodically, annually, they're lifting up our work and promoting and doing stories. And so it was really nurturing a relationship with the local news to elevate. Now our data from our state in our community are showing that, we still need to elevate the importance of supporting literacy and learning with kids. And so what we find is that when we're sending out a media release or information about a program starting, it's getting shared amongst partners that we didn't even know we had across our community, which we take everywhere. We want everyone to be part of the messaging.
I think both of you responded, and I'm hearing about the power of partnerships, how that is incredibly important about getting those resources out. And that's why you have coalitions that are in your communities, building these relationships and having them share out those resources being incredibly important. I do want to shift gears a little bit and bring in two other voices who are community leads in two other states. And so Ashley, if you could come on camera and join us. I want to share out, well, first, let me say why I'm bringing in some other voices. So Barb and Sam, you had shared some print materials. So we had recently the Communications Expo for the Campaign for Grade Level Reading to really shine a light on beautiful strategies that our community leads are utilizing to get information out about their programs and resources. And in the follow-up to this conversation, I will be sharing the links of all of those examples of those communities who were recognized as having exemplary work. Well, I want to call attention to two other methods of sharing information. One is videos, and the second would be websites. So Ashley, from United Way of Wyoming Valley, you had shared in the Communications Expo video series, and I'm going to share my screen in a second. And have you kind of talk a little bit about the video series. So let me shift my own, I'm going to stop talking. Hold on, let me get my screen up. And Ashley, if you could just describe the videos that we're looking at and what went into creating these. I won't press play on any of them because it'll interrupt you, but we've got the Community Helpers video series. Can you talk a little bit about this, please?
Absolutely. So as part of our second annual Million Minute Challenge, which is an idea that we got from Lehigh Valley Reads, we were trying to have our community pledge reading minutes. So it could be a child, a classroom, or you just like to read yourself. So it's the largest reading challenge in our community, and we were able to adapt it. But we started thinking that sometimes children may not have access to books to be able to read the pledge. So when they're making these pledges. So what we decided to do was to have, and we wanted a fun, exciting video series that not only emphasized the importance of reading, but also showcased some valuable members of our community. So in turn, we made 12 videos that were able to highlight some of the various careers in our community. And there's also a very cute little first grader too. So that sort of rounded out everything, but who just love to share reading and, just the message of, I love reading, make sure you keep on reading. And it was just exciting. So what we were able to do is we shared the video series out on our social media. We shared it with our local teachers, reading specialists, with our local librarians. And this series between YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, we accumulated almost 10,000 views on this series, which was very impactful for us. So during each video, the reader would introduce themselves, describe their occupation for a young child, and they had all the props, the uniforms, and we really made it fun and exciting for children to be able to view as well. But we wanted to make sure that all the message was there, that the importance of reading needs to be showcased. So in each of these videos, it just really emphasizes that how I got to where I am today is because of reading. Without reading, I would not be where I am. So that message just carried in all of these videos, but it was still fun and exciting. We have a judge who banged the gavel and said, court is adjourned. A fireman sliding down a pole and driving away in the fire truck. A chef making a live cooking demonstration. A lineman being lifted in the air in a bucket truck. Just things to keep the attention of children and having those exciting elements to draw in even the youngest of viewers, because while we were aiming at elementary, we also did share this with our learning centers as well for the early childhood component. And some of the teachers even use this in their social studies lessons as well. So we're very proud of this series.
This is brilliant. Can you talk a little bit about how did you pick these people? I mean, are they part of your network, just for those who are wanting to replicate this idea?
Sure. So it was just between our staff. It was just
awesome.
People that we personally knew within the community. So we were able to make all of these connections.
I love that. Everybody knows somebody, right? It kind of goes into that idea. That's awesome. All right, thank you, Ashley, for sharing that out. And I did put the link in the chat for those who are interested in taking a peek at it. The number of views that you had, that you mentioned, that's phenomenal, that you had that many interested in, and that this is being utilized, and you've got it where it can be utilized again and again and again. So that's something that I appreciate too. Kim Myers, can you come on camera, please? I want to chat a little bit about your website. The website category was the other category in the Communications Expo. And so we noted get Troup reading. So can you share, Kim, just a little bit about your website and the information that you have on the website?
Yes, absolutely. Well, our website, about 4 years ago, a website was created by our community that has then evolved into this Get Troup Reading website. Because I came on into my position as the director of Get Troup Reading about 4 years ago. And it was at the same time the pandemic was hitting. And so I had a lot of time to look at the website, that there was a lot of data on the website about the need and the importance of third grade reading levels, and how many children in our community were not meeting that third grade reading goal and the impact it would have. The problem was it was not, you couldn't find the information. The actual website name was a really long Improving Literacy in Troup County. There really wasn't any catchiness to it. So we took that website and rebranded it the Get Troup Reading site, which goes along with our state coalition, Get Georgia Reading. I used the same branding, the same colors, everything that Get Georgia Reading uses, and we apply it on our website. We pay close attention to the marketing, the pictures, all that type of thing, our font, our text, and we were able to really narrow it down. If you look at the top, our purpose, we have 3 different strategies where we look at early learning, school readiness, and third grade reading scores, success in school. These are actually our 4 different committees that we have throughout our community make up these 4 strategies. Our measurements, we work with the school system on which measurements are important that we're tracking. Of course, third grade reading level is one of the main things we're tracking, as well as our pre-K enrollment, our attendance enrollment. And we update this every year because that's what's so important. If the data is old, that's not going to help anybody. We do have to pull some data from our kids count data, which is about a year behind. So some of the data you'll see on here says 2022, but we try to keep it as updated as possible. We have a link for how people can help, because that's the biggest question that I get and my team gets in the community. How can we help? How can we help? And a lot of times this is in the grocery store. This is at a civic club meeting. This is on the tail end of another organization where we're at that meeting. So we can quickly say, go to our Get Troup Reading site. You'll see 3 ways that you can help: donations, if you want to be a volunteer, if you want to donate books to our local book bank. It really streams all of our literacy efforts and all of our literacy volunteers coming into one central location. And then I'm able to take this information and send it out to, for example, our book bank, our local book bank, where we collect gently used books and new books. is housed in our United Way offices. So I'm able to share that information with the people that are in charge of that book bank. Same thing with the volunteers. We keep a master volunteer list, and it comes directly from this format where people are able to sign up. We also keep news, current news. We try to keep in there for publicity. A lot of what's in the news link also goes on our social media sites, our Facebook and our Instagram. We have certain resources that are available. These are other community agencies that people might find helpful. We have a link for those. And then we are a basics community. We're a basics network. If you've heard of the basics, which is a national network of early brain development, 5 basic principles that we have community saturation with. This is what we want our community to be sending this message out everywhere to spread awareness of how important those first 3 years of life, first 5 years of life. And so this is a recent link that we added last year. So we're constantly adding information to our website, but we try to make it a one-stop shop where anything, because Get True Reading, we're an umbrella organization for all the literacy initiatives in our county. And so I try to bring all those different initiatives together where people can find exactly what they're looking for in the way of literacy, and we're able to share out what's going on all across the community. And as Barb said, I think it was Barb talked about our other partners. We share each other's Facebook links, Instagram links. That's very important in cross collaboration.
Thank you, Kim. I was just noting the beauty of your website, just the colors, and that was something that I noted when Sam started to share out her slides, and I asked everybody to just take notice of the slides that Sam and Barb were sharing. Lots of different bringing together through the branding, and Kim, definitely same with you with the colors of matching that with Get Georgia Reads. And so I appreciate that very much. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and shift gears now to the large group discussion, and we will be using Padlet. So if everybody could just wait a second, I'm going to put the link to the Padlet into the chat. We have a few minutes that we can go through some of the questions on the Padlet. And what we're really hoping to cultivate here with this section is getting input from everyone that's still with us on this meeting today through some of these questions. And I'm noting the time that we only have 20 minutes, and so we probably will not get through all of the questions, but I'm hoping that we can get through quite a number of them and have some really great insights from everybody that is here with us today. So I'm going to share my screen so that we can look at the Padlet questions together, and I will also just do a very quick demonstration of how you can add things to the Padlet. So what you see in the blue mark here is the instructions of how to navigate the Padlet if you would like to add a comment to any of the questions, just noting that we won't be able to get through all of them today. The scroll bar is here on the right side, so you can scroll down and you can see that we've got a number of conversation prompts that are here. To add something to the prompt, although we are going to talk about it too for those who would like to use voice. To add something to the prompt, all you have to do is click on the part that says add comment, and you can type in a response to the question, and then there should be a button that says post. So we're just going to do an example, and you see an arrow that's there, and then you can just click on that and it'll post your response. So, and if you have issues with that, just go ahead and unmute and call it out, because we're a small enough group, I think we can get through some of these. So these questions are for everybody, but I am going to call on our conversation leads and also Kim and Ashley and Lisa Greening, who I know is attended with us today to help put voice behind some of these. But I'm inviting everybody to respond to these as well, knowing that we've got a nice group of around 54 people today that we should be able to get through these. So a question that I have for everybody, just really this question, let's look at this one together. What tools have been helpful for your organizations or coalitions led by one person or a very small team? Knowing that our campaign communities with grade level reading are sometimes led by one single person in a staff, or they might be one person in an organization. What have you used that has been really helpful for those of you that are a very small staff? And so here's where I will pick on Lisa Greening, because I know Lisa manages Turn the Page STL in St. Louis, and she is a single person. What have you used in your marketing or your distribution of your communication?
Am I on here?
Yes, you are.
Oh my God, I'm like all over the place. Hi,
We can hear you.
okay, number one, I think I was the first person to put in their Canva.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you don't go to PowerPoint first if you're putting a PowerPoint slide together anymore. Go to Canva, design your PowerPoints in Canva. They're beautiful. Get your color palettes on there. I am graphically challenged. So I also, you know, obviously social media is extraordinarily important. And tagging all your partners too, and ensuring that they tag you. That was something. I also use Constant Contact. And you can connect your website to Constant Contact. So somebody signs up for their e-newsletter. You don't need me to be fiddling with that if you're a small team. Everything should be able to flow in. And if you don't know what to do and you don't have a teenager at home, Google it. I learned so much by how do you do this and how do you do that, but streamlining everything.
Yeah.
I
Thank
answered
you, Lisa. Yeah, that's great. Ashley, Sam, Kim, Barb, do you have anything else to add to that one? The reason why I put this question on here, many of you know I was a community lead for quite a long time, for 5 years prior to my joining the campaign in this role, and I was one person in that staff. And communications was something that I needed some help with. So I'm thinking of
One-
our leads that have only one person.
One thing that we've discovered, a lot of these, I mean, Canva, Constant Contact, that's what I put as well. A lot of them have free pricing for nonprofits or reduced pricing for nonprofits. So explore
Oh, good
that
to know.
when you're looking at these different platforms.
Yeah, that's great to know, Kim.
Yeah, that was what I was going to point out about Canva, especially. You get 10 accounts for free, 10 pro accounts for free through Canva if you're a nonprofit. Also Unsplash, if you're looking for great stock images, they have a lot. They've started pushing more of their like paid. They used to be a lot better. But they're still one of the best free stock image websites out there.
Thanks for mentioning the stock image, because some images are copyrighted when you are Googling those. So this is kind of an impromptu question that I have for everybody. Are there other stock image sites that people are really comfortable with or like to use that are for free? Because images are really important to be able to communicate those messages. And if you don't have the ability to share out local images of families because you're not wanting to go in that direction, are there other images that other platforms that people have used for collecting stock images? I use Pexels. Go ahead. Someone was talking. I'm going to put Pexels in.
I know I've used Pexels and Pixabay before, and they're both, I think, very good with stock images.
Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, so you're voting for Pexels as well. Yeah, thanks.
Adobe Stock actually lets you do a certain amount of credits for free if you register with them. So if you need like some really high quality ones, maybe for your website or something specific, and you only need a few, that's a good way to get like really, really nice stock images for free. And then after the free ones, I just stopped using it, but you can get free ones from Adobe Stock.
Thanks. And I think that's Leah. So she's with our campaign team. Thanks, Leah, for chiming in on that one. That's really helpful. So I want to go to the next question. How do you stand out when you're representing your coalition at an event like a resource fair? And there are many other organizations that are also there. I think some of us have had that experience where you're there competing for the attention of families and you're there by yourself and you've got your table and you've got your spread there. What do you do to stand out? And this is an open question for anybody that's here with us today.
Oh, I didn't have that. That's really good. The school bus painted
Yeah.
blue. I think it's in my small little thing, it's simpler. It's free books, good
Yeah.
quality, high quality books that you're giving out. I think it's stickers. I know that sounds so silly, but I have Turn the Page STL stickers, and every child, you can make it simple. We have these vocabulary games that that are St. Louis based. And if you fill it out with your family, you can go to the local bookstore and get a free book. So I think it's just a lot of fun activities.
Lisa, can you share that book again? Can you pick that book up? Yeah, what is that from? Did you
I
make
made
that?
this.
Oh,
You
you
just,
made it. Okay,
yeah, with my partners, with 3 other partners.
that's
And it's
awesome.
vocabulary games for St. Louis early learners. And it's just fun games that you can do with your my artist. And like I said, once you fill it out, then you take this to I See Me bookstore and you can pick out whatever book you want, which is our local African American bookstore, and then Turn the Page STL. Um, I get billed monthly for
That's
those
incredible.
books. Yeah,
That's
no,
awesome. And
yeah.
you said you're artist, and I only know this because I know of your work. Can you talk a little bit about the art that goes into these things that you're putting together? Because I think you've got somebody local within your
Mhm.
coalition that does this.
Yeah, so I have he's actually a graphic writes graphic novels, but you know, it's important. All right, this is my belief. We're talking about stock images. It is worth getting a photographer out there to take the pictures of your it's just so valuable of the people that you are working with, and to get artists and fun images of the people that you are working with. You know, the whole mirrors and windows concept is vital for families that have not had that have not seen themselves in reading, have not seen themselves as learners. You've got to be able to see yourself. So yeah, so it's his name's David Gordon. He does a lot of local artwork. Everybody in your community, you've got an artist there. So use that. It's fun. Kids love it.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Lisa. Okay, we're going to move on to talking about communication within a coalition in the next 5 minutes. Let me choose a question here that's going to be a good one. Let's talk about the role of storytelling because storytelling is so important with building awareness about your coalition work, the work that you're doing in your organization. And so this question is on the bottom row. What role does storytelling play in building your messaging within your coalition? So think about Get Troup reading. Think about Raise Me to Read. Think about your coalition work itself. What role does that storytelling or sharing out the experiences of the people that you're serving, what role does that play as you're doing that messaging? And this is a question for everybody.
Is it okay to come off mute and respond?
Yeah, absolutely. Go.
Okay.
Definitely.
Hello guys. And I just want to really to share because as at the Detroit Parent Network, I am the literacy coordinator and we work with the talking is teaching. And for me, when introducing that core role in this research-based programming, the best thing for me that has worked when storytelling is to just make it more relatable. And again, that's kind of mirroring what Lisa was just saying about the mirrors and the windows, you know, because that's actually one good thing. I think it's been lost that the kids don't really take that journey through reading like we used to. You know, reading has always been another world, and just something to do. And I build all of our lessons into that. Like it may not be something you do in your home, but it definitely gets that conversation going. I always ask questions to where that the parents can build upon it even further. So like our books, we'll read it, but the way that we go through it and make it relatable and make it with things that you could do at home without purchasing anything really can expand that to be like you're in that book for like a whole week. So definitely being inclusive, making it super simple, and just letting parents know like you can build this out. Like I had a small baby without taking too much time. We read the book and he added his own rhyming word to the end of the word that I said.
Oh,
And I was like, okay, so that
oh,
was a different conversation to where we just took it with rhyming, but you know, that's a good skill set. And I was just like, look at how much we dissected from this one book. And that was
I love
just
that.
so great because the parent was like, wow, I can do that. And I was like, yeah, you can do it. You can change the words. The kids can, you know, you can make it whatever you want to make it. But that just got them engaged. It took them on that journey. I mean, by the time the parent came back, the book was not even the same book, but they did a whole new world. And I think that was just so crucial. You know, yes, we want words, but it's also okay because you're just having that conversation, that bonding time, and that make that kid not feel like it was bad. Like that kid wanted to come back and get another book, read it, and then make his own version. So that was great.
Wow, love that. What was your name again? I want to be able to note that, please.
Jaquita Nelson with the
Jaquita.
Detroit
Okay.
Parent Network. Yeah.
Yeah, so you work with 313 Reads in Detroit, right?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Jaquita. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to add some voice to this one?
I wanted to just shout out to Ashley about your videos and how wonderful the storytelling of those videos. You can also, my colleagues at Turn the Page KC in Kansas City, they wrote a book. It's backwards though, isn't it? I Can Be Me in KC. Very similar to the videos, but it's in a book form. And then you
Oh,
can
that's
add all that
cool.
additional information. So that is a way to tell your story or to tell the story of your city and just show real people in your community reading. It's vital. So hats off to you, Ashley.
Love that. Jaquita, there's a note for you. There's someone.
Yes, I see. I'm gonna drop my
Okay.
information. And mine's when I share, it's for everyone. You know,
Yeah.
we're all doing great work. So please.
Yeah, thank you. All right, I'm going to move to one more question. We got time for one more. And so it's the question that's right next to the one I just asked. What is the balance between sharing someone's story about the programs that have been successful and then respecting privacy? So we might, reach out to a family knowing that they might have had a success. But there is a fine line between wanting to make sure that their privacy is respected in that story sharing. So how do you walk that line? What are your strategies that you do to ensure that their privacy is also respected, but you're also giving information to and sharing their story out? This is a question for everybody.
Well, I think for us, as in most things, consent is always key, right? Like make sure that they're okay being shared first. And then if they are, always being sure to focus on the work. So the actual, growth that's happening, and then uplift them and their work and what they've done. So like always trying to be super positive, always making sure that they come out looking as great as possible, right? Like we never want to make anybody feel shamed for having to go through this process because we were all learners, right? Like in the chat, I saw people talking about being YouTube University, longtime students. That's me, always on there. We're always all learning. So
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Anyone else want to share the strategies that they use to ensure privacy, but then also knowing that component that actually that Lisa and Jaquita, you were talking about, that relatability, that these are people that are in your programs. How do you walk that line between privacy and sharing stories?
So, I'm gonna just be honest.
Yeah.
I tend to start with a personal story. I do ask for permission because you're never supposed to make it about you, but I do share like a personal story that will maybe were my hiccups or struggles. And then I show the tips and things that I did to overcome and how it helped. And that has worked to me with just one, letting them know that they're not alone. Letting them know that this is something that is a serious issue that everyone experiences. And then they just start like downloading everything. Like, oh, I didn't want to say that because of this, or I didn't want to know. And I'm like, hey, I've been on that other side as well. And then here are the resources that I use, or maybe here's what you could do as well. And that has wholeheartedly worked. We're all human. We all experience some things. And it wasn't demeaning, because sometimes when they feel we have so much training, they think like we haven't been in their shoes or have any experience. So when you make it relatable again, it works.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. When I would do the same, when I was doing direct work, I would do the same. I would ask for consent first. Do you want to hear this? This is about me. And I think that that authenticity bonds you with the people that you're working with as well, knowing that you might have some similarities. And I think you hit it on the head when you said we're all human, and that lowers the bar a little bit for us to be able to come together and work together in certain topics, particularly with around children, being able to support each other in that. Anyone else want to put voice behind this? And then we'll wrap it up.
I find families haven't been heard.
Mm.
The flip of it here, at least in my community here in St. Louis, and they are craving to tell their stories, and finally getting to tell them in many ways. So that's just my experience.
Can I
Thank
add
you.
something really quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, sorry, I'm off mic. Hi, everybody. I'm the Director of Operations and kind of de facto storytelling with We Shall Read, which is a literacy nonprofit in Metro Detroit. One of the things that I'd like to also point out that we do is we have just like a spreadsheet of where we keep the contact name for the parent, if they've signed a photo or video release. Like we have all of those from like a record tracking standpoint, and that, or if it was an email, we have the timestamp and the like agreement of like, yes, you can use my story, just from like a CYA aspect.
Yeah, Ashley, can you email that to me? I will reach out to you. If you're comfortable with that, I would love to share that out as an example. If
Yeah,
you're
sure.
okay
Because
with
yeah,
that.
it's just in like Google Sheets. So we just have like our photos and media and storytelling folder, and then it's just a really simple Google Sheet that
That's
everybody has
awesome.
access to. Well, the storytellers have access to. And there's a lot of really great resources online. If you Google like ethical storytelling, there's so many great resources out there.
Oh, thank you for that. So we've got one last slide and then we're going to wrap it up. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody that's been involved with this conversation. Lots of great information that I can't wait to share with everyone in the follow-up. Leah, we've got one last slide, which is the sharing of the webinars that we have coming up for the rest of December. Thank you. So we've got some rebroadcasts that would be shared out, knowing that these are the holidays and that folks are busy, but I did want to draw attention to these. And then note that we are taking our own winter break, so there will not be a Crucible of Practice community conversation in January, but we will be back on February 13th, on Tuesday, February 13th. So look for the promos for that session coming in January. So I want to thank everybody for your time today and for your voices and adding to this really amazing conversation about how you do your strategies with communications. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in February. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.